Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.
Welcoming to the show, we got indie yet culturally beloved filmmaker Tim Ritter on the show, everyone. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Tim rose to fame in the late 80s in the direct-to-video market with films such as Truth or Dare, Twisted Illusions, Killing Spree, Wicked Games. And when did you know you were just getting some love from indie horror fans?
I guess probably somewhere in the, the 80s when we did Killing Spree and, Fangoria had covered Truth or Dare. And then when we made Wicked Games, it started, more in the underground press too, like Draculina and Alternative Cinema and all those kind of magazines. So probably, a couple years after Truth or Dare, you started to, notice that people were enjoying the work and giving you some cool feedback, and there was a small following, so that was kind of cool.
How would you describe your process when it just came to just getting all these movies made? Because you're given so much advice and everything, but just
for making the movies, you just pretty much write a script, ideas that you concept or the characters, and then formulate the locations that you have access to, and sometimes talent, actors or actresses, and kind of put it all into a little mixing board there. See what you actually come up with. So it's pretty much the process, especially when you don't have a lot of money. It's kind of got to use, what you have access to. Like if you live next to a forest or whatever, say, okay, this will be set in the woods.
Well, once again, you were born on Friday the 13th,
right?
1967. Were you always just kind of? I know you were a horror fan and everything, but like, when did you just realize, you can make movies, and regardless of how much money you can make, you can be very creative and bring out your inner self in general?
Right. I guess always since when I was a kid, because I started writing little handwritten books, and I'd staple them together when I was probably 6 or 7. And then when I saw the family Super 8 movie camera, man, I can make my own movies too. So apprehended that, and then later my mom saved up some S&H green stamps, and I got my own Super 8 camera from that. And from there, I just kind of tore off into the script writing, and I probably made like 35 or 40 short movies, anywhere from 4 minutes up to about 35 minutes, and then culminating with, of course, Day of the Reaper, with a 72-minute first feature-length movie on Super 8 film in 1984. So just something I always did, for sure.
And do you just think these movies just caught on just because, again, just everyone needed a motivation, like, what's the easiest way to make a movie on, Super 8, using...
Yeah, for me, it was just always, what story that I want to tell, and, format was kind of irrelevant, so I've kind of grown with each format. In other words, when Super 8 was there, I would use that, Super 8 silent film, and then went to VHS with synced audio with Twisted Illusions, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. Now I don't have to, see the movie with the cassette and all that. And then, of course, 16 millimeter film, Truth or Dare, Critical
Sure.
Madness, and Killing Spree, and then later just about every format of video that you can imagine, from Super VHS, 3/4 inch, all the way to the current 4K HD camera cards and all that.
We interviewed your pal Joel D. Winecoop, and he said a lot of the same kind of stuff, that you were just getting a lot of feedback from people at video stores and everything, and so you knew that some people were seeing your movies, and you were able to accept that kind of.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because we'd go around to those stores and we would sell, directly to the independent mom and pop stores. You have to meet the owners, and because they were the ones buying it, and they would obviously, the trailer wasn't enough. They want to pop the whole thing, actually watch the whole movie with you and critique it. So it was a really strange learning experience, but cool. And then, as we were doing this stuff, we realized that, things were getting a lot bigger. We were getting a lot more, notoriety back then in 86 to 95. We were on all those shows like A Current Affair and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it really kind of grew from very homegrown to, kind of at least semi-cult classic status, with niche markets.
And you've noted before you were reading a lot of Fangoria and Stephen King. What are you reading nowadays?
Same thing. I still read Fangoria and Stephen King. I try to keep up, although he have like 2 books a year, like Stephen Thrower or the Jess Franco stuff, and anything filmmaking oriented on all these cool older filmmakers that inspired us, when we were growing up, and a lot of them have passed on, unfortunately. But may not know, and trying to find those is always fun,
Excellent. Well, once again, movies like Truth or Dare were noted for just using a lot of, very dangerous looking explosions. What stunts do you attempt to pull off nowadays?
Yeah, we had, for Truth or Dare, we had like 6 people that did Bob Shelley and Jerry Berry. They did Code of Silence, Ghostbusters. It's bigger movies, so they were actually hired out, had all the right insurance, the fire department, and all that kind of stuff there. Nowadays, like we did Sharks in the Corner, so we did huge explosions in that, and they look, to me, just as effective. And a lot of people are like, "Well, wow, I see you're blowing stuff up again. That's incredible." And I'm like going, I don't tell them, but I'm like going, now it's all just CGI, so all done practically and on the set, and very dangerous, catching himself on fire, getting out of the car, and then we had a squibs with the M16 gun and all that kind of stuff. They changed now, it's a lot safer when if you don't have really big insurance.
What do you use to just keep your positivity levels up for a world where we live with a bunch of snobbery and naysayers who say, "Oh, you can never make your own movie. You don't have $1 million like Christopher Nolan and what have you," and just telling them to wake up and say, "Hey, I'm not trying to even make something even remotely on that scale."
Right. I just again, it's just a passion to tell, and you have to do it kind of on. To me, it makes you more creative, and you have way more control. Movies where I had bigger budgets, like Truth or Dare was like $250,000, which was a lot to me, back then in '86 and stuff. But when you only have, under $10,000, you've really got to be creative, and you have complete control. Pretty much, you have a lot more control. It's a lot more fun. You don't have to answer to money people and investors as much, as the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just going out there and doing it, and then getting it out there. It's just an exciting process. So, I really, it's just something I'm impelled to do. So I don't really, listen to the people who say, I mean, obviously you can do it, but a certain segment of viewers are going to like it or not. And of course, like I said, it's kind of a niche market. So some people are going to like it and other people are not. But, like right now with Vinegar Syndrome and all their partner labels and, all these cool distributors that are re-releasing everything and making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this, older stuff now. It's like an incredible, renaissance of all this material now, especially for the 80s and 90s.
1,000%. 80s and 90s, everyone was ideally thinking $10,000. Markel Lester was doing slashers and action movies, and he was promoting that as well.
Right.
Why do you think that's still just an ideal one, regardless of the economy and era? Why do you think it's still an ideal low budget?
I mean, it's just like I said, it's $1,000. You just you're able to get it out there and eventually make a profit, especially if you make horror or some kind of exploitation. Usually you cannot lose conventions to make your own copies and sell them yourself. And then if they slightly catch on with a group of people, then you've got distributors. As the product gets older, it kind of ages like a fine wine, and it becomes worth more and more money. It's kind of incredible. Like Killing Spree just got a really big release from Terror Vision through Vinegar Syndrome, and it's just awesome seeing all these people rediscover the movie or discover it for the first time. So it's really cool.
What are some recurring filmmakers who you incorporate on some of your films?
Oh, well, of course, I collaborate with Bill Wynkoop. We've collaborated with Brett Sykes and on the High 8, High Fear. We got High Fear coming out this year, going to the film festivals and conventions and theaters, and then it'll be out on probably DVD and Blu-ray by the end of the year or early next year. Let's see, who else? I work with Shannon Stockin, aka Michelle Macabre. She does special makeup effects and it starred in my last few movies. So try to kind of use some of the same people over and over again. And I've always got new people coming through. Yeah, I knew people come forward all the time with projects and ideas. And if we hit it off, we end up doing a nice collaboration here and there. So it's always cool.
1,000%. And some quick advice that you'd like to give regarding just giving the ability to book a theater before figuring out a distribution deal for home media.
Oh, well, I mean, I've done that before. And, there's a couple ways to do it. One, you can actually just rent the theater, rent the auditorium, and then, it's X amount of dollars, and then you try to sell X amount of tickets and, sell copies of your movie on VHS and Blu-ray or whatever to the people coming, and posters and T-shirts, and then recoup your investment, for renting the theater. And then the one thing we've always done is just book it in a theater, and we split the, residuals with them. We did that with Creep, Screaming for Sanity, 30 Cop No Donut, Deadly Dares, Truth or Dare Part 4. So we would just book the movie in the theater. They would put it on the marquee, put a poster in the window. We'd do local press on the radio and the newspapers, and people would just come out and see it. And like Deadly Dares, we made quite a bit of money on that on the opening night. So it was really cool to see so many people coming out to see an independent movie. And it didn't cost us anything to put it in there, and we actually, made, quite a bit of the budget back right there. So there's a couple ways to do it, and people are doing it now, especially with theaters post-COVID. A lot of auditoriums are empty and looking for product. And if you look at successes like this past year of re-releasing The Evil Dead, Rocky IV.
So true.
Or there's really a lot of retro type movies that they're making it into the markets and doing pretty well. So,
and indeed, do you think a lot of people just pass up the ability to just make a very competent and eye-catching poster, not realizing that's already easy, promotion right then and there?
Yeah, I mean, you really got to, the old Corbin days and the old Charles Band days, and even in some of the newer ones, the poster came first. The title, that they go sell that at the market and everything, and then then go make the movie based on the posters. Have been thousands of indie movies made like that. So yeah, you really got to put a lot of effort. There's a lot of great artists out there. I mean, you can hire the guy who does all the stuff for Shout Factory for a reasonable rate, and all these really cool indie artists that are out there. We had the guy who Simon Prickard or something like that. He did some artwork for us, and he does all the Jess Franco Severin covers. So, it's not really hard to get these people to work for you, and and then make cool posters for them, sell them, hand them out, put them in the newspaper for an ad, or post them along city
True.
streets. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy to miss that opportunity, and it is, people love posters and T-shirts.
Indeed, it seems like many will just uh, they think anything that's just like from the 90s or 2000s isn't relevant anymore. But I mean, there's people who still do fan mail,
Oh yeah, yep. Absolutely.
And, what do you recommend for people who do consume physical media still versus others who prefer some kind of streaming outlet, even though it's hard to find streaming outlets now even?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of my stuff is on Tubi, and there's something called, it's like MUBI. I'm not even sure exactly what that is. My stuff's been on Amazon Prime, Netflix. We've had all our movies on Netflix, especially when they first started out. They're very indie friendly. When they first started out, where it was free with the DVD rental program, all my movies were on there, so it's pretty cool. And but I mean, now you can pretty much find them on Prime and places like that if that's your preference. I noticed there's a couple like Exploitation Nation, and there's there's like, I don't know, if you go through like kind of like a Roku box or whatever it is, you can go through there and find all these grindhouse independent movies with channels with just Franco movies and slasher movies, and actually all the stuff that's on physical media is on there. But of course, I recommend. I'm a collector myself, so I recommend people keep buying the stuff like from Severin and Vinegar Syndrome and all their partner labels, and SRS Cinema and Wild Eye. I mean, unfortunately, the market does seem to be. The prices are going up, and the amount of units moved and that they're making, or even Shout or Scream, does like limited editions of 1,500 copies only. So it
Indeed.
is a thing, and sadly, because the market is it's more money. It's like $40 a disc. So I would recommend, at least your favorite movies, keep buying those and supporting them so they stay. But I think over time, it's going to be a severe niche market. And I know everybody says vinyl has come back, and it has in a way, but it's still not a big way,
Yeah,
it's not huge.
It's a couple minutes thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do see. If you go into Walmart, they have a little vinyl record section. So you're like, that's weird that vinyl's back. But again, it's a very niche market thing. So I'm hoping that at least Blu-rays stay with that, for a while. But I don't think Blu-ray has caught on as much as DVD. I think people still overall, especially the regular consumer, just buy DVDs because they're cheaper, and that picture quality upgrade is really not that important. And I even got some movies myself where I'm like going, wow, this Blu-ray upgrade is it's too much. It's too grainy. It shows too much. I'd much rather see my darker DVD. So
Totally.
I don't know.
I was the same way for a while. It took a while to play them properly on my PS3, and then I was like, well, now you got to do your homework, making sure you got the best of the upgrades.
Right. I still collect some of the newer ones, the transfers are really, really good. Like, for instance, the Toolbox Murders, phenomenal transfer. It's just
really?
Like from I think Blue Underground released that 4K UHD release, and it's like, wow, and incredible extras. You can't get those extras anywhere else either. That's another big selling point on a lot of these physical media releases.
What was your best task when it came to doing special features for some of these movies?
Well, we just finished the Killing Spree one, which is available Syndrome, and wow, that one is just, I mean, we spent 18 months restoring the movie. We did an all-new making of documentary directed by Professor Shred, who's done all Brains on Film and all those kind of cable shows from the old days. So feature-length documentary. It's got the original on-set documentary. It's got an incredible slideshow, several commentaries. I mean, you've got enough material on there for probably 8 or 9 hours worth of entertainment if you're really so inclined. So that one was, it was a blast to make, and it was a blast to put together and then get all that stuff compiled on there. It's really a kind of a cool piece of 80s history there, of a backyard movie. So I hope people continue to get it.
And just some final closing thoughts. Like, would you teach a indie film seminar class in various places, perhaps in the future?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I might consider it if I was asked. I was doing more and more shows, conventions and panels and stuff like that. And then, of course, COVID hit, and so that kind of interrupted all that. So who knows what the future will hold on that. I definitely hope to do more, cons and stuff like that, where I can meet like-minded people and fans and do stuff like that. So, and I hope people are continuing. It's always excellent and awesome to find people that are inspired and people who are making movies that are inspired by my old stuff. It's just kind of mind-boggling, because I look back on it like what inspired me, like Halloween, Last House on the Left, and I went out and did this stuff, and now 30 years later, people are looking at my stuff going, yeah, I see, how I can do this, and your stuff
100%.
inspired me to make things. So it's very, 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 it's an honor. Yeah, it's really cool that happened.
Thanks bunches, man. It's just so rare to just find someone who's just a great sport and loves every aspect of the whole process, like going about the whole film procedures and just realizing, hey, because I invested all of what I want, it comes across in the final cut.
Right. Yeah. That's, you can really notice that when somebody, I notice it in, even mid-tire movies, you can feel the passion of the people behind it. And if they don't have it, you can, if they have a lot of money, you're like going, oh, wow, they were kind of
Well, that's so true. For a while, I would see people say, let's do a movie, but let's make it intentionally awful. And it's like, no, don't do that. Just have fun. Do something you really, truly have some passion for, as opposed to let's do a knock off.
Right, the passion for it. Yeah. And then if it comes out bad, then it may work for some, audience members, but yeah, to deliberately go out and do something that's horrible. And I still know people who absolutely do that, and I guess they do okay with it, but it's definitely not my as far
We're not
as
here to make a
watching. It's not entertaining to me. I'm like going, wow, But I guess some people, like that. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. But, I prefer the stuff that like Microwave Massacre, Toolbox Murders. There may be parts in them where you're like, oh wow, what were they thinking? But they're still really, really, really good. And when you think of video equivalents to those, there's not many.
1,000%. And I'm seeing people even come out with VHS exclusives of some of their movies, and I'm like, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I thought it was totally defunct.
Yeah, they do. For all of my releases, and in the past, we always have a limited edition, VHS. And then there's like a limited Blu-ray, and then a DVD it's actually more mainstream, where they do a lot of copies of it, and then of course streaming. So
Definitely
seems to be a little bit of everything, for everybody right now. But again, as we're talking about, some of these may not last, and again, hopefully, there's enough of a niche market interest, to keep some of the physical, media going. But with places like Netflix, a lot of times they don't, even release cool stuff on, physical media anymore, because they're more focused on streaming.
And once again, man, this is just good to just have some just enthusiastic yet very straightforward, just positive info.
Kind of do the best we can as fans and podcasters and bloggers, and just getting the word out there, and distributors and writers. We're all part of the same horror, obsessive group. So it'd be great to have more and more people work together, although that doesn't seem to happen a lot. It does sometimes, but probably not enough, you know.
Totally. And it's just good to have just some positive energy just in the room.
It's, you know, there's no other reason to do it unless it's fun. And, you know, that means the people you collaborate with have to be like-minded. They're going to be passionate. They're giving up their time. They're making very little money. And you're all just kind of doing it to, you know, do the best you can. It's like, you know, it's like when we started. So it's hard to keep that momentum up sometimes, you know. It's like, because like you said, there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of negativity. Like if you look at some of the reviews for some of these movies, it's just like, there's a few good ones, and then you'll just have people trash you and your mom and everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wow, what an attack this is. But, you know, you're just like, oh, well, at least they watched 5 minutes of it and decided they didn't like it.
Right.
But, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, though, there's enough people who do enjoy this that, you know, makes it worthwhile. But unfortunately, there is a little darker side where, you know, a lot of people really seem to, you know, just want to destroy everything. And, you know, if somebody doesn't like something, even big studio movies, you get a lot of division, a lot of people who, you know, oh, that's horrible. But if you do it respectfully and you have a reason, you can claim, hey, I didn't like this because the tone was wrong, the main actor didn't work, and then the script had too many holes in it. I mean, that is totally, you know, reasonable. But when people just come out and trash everything just because, and then, you know, try to make a mockery of everybody involved, that's just, you know, I've seen, this looks like a high school production. I'm like thinking, maybe I started when I was in high school. Have I improved at all? Year one in junior college now.
You're right.
But it's still a
I
lot
was
of fun.
totally in high school when I did this. Say what? Again.
Right. Like, well, I guess I haven't progressed, but I haven't regressed too much either, because you're still talking about high school. Day of the Reaper, Charge the Corn, Deadly Dares. What's the difference, right?
Right.
And there is a lot of good feedback from fans who love this stuff, and that's what especially through SRS Cinema, which is my main distributor. They have some very intense, so it's always, you know, good to see that. And I know Wild Eye has, you know, an intense, rabid fan base, as does, you know, Vinegar Syndrome, an incredible fan base of people who, you know, a lot of times they're like collecting even the what do you call those, the slip covers, you know, they all make fun of me for that, but that's part of it, you know, these great new paintings and stuff, the posters that they add into all this stuff. So it's everyone has like the, you know, the action figures for the Bigfoot movie. They've always got some kind of you know, new novelty that goes with great, you know.
Yeah, they definitely, nostalgia is definitely their middle name, because like
Definitely,
you say, it's like all these guys did like even simple formulas too. They're just you can just tell that they're scrolling through film forums, seeing, man, I sure would like to see this on a release. You're like, done.
Yep, it's pretty cool too. Like the Bigfoot, yes, figurine that was from Grizzly, and they did one for Grizzly the Bear, and they did one for the Bigfoot creature and Night of the Demon, and they've probably done a couple others. So it's pretty neat, you know, especially if you're a fan of those.
Totally. They definitely do a lot of just you know, subgenres kind of movies. Like they'll sometimes make 4-packs of them, and just like, here's a Sasquatch edition, here's a, you know, 4 midnight slashers, and they acknowledge that some of them are so bad they're good, or, you know, trashy fun, and the special features, like you say, are totally worth it, because often, you know, them, Shout, and Red Eye, and all the others are just all about just really just getting into, is like, well, whatever we can afford, you know, this is the budget we got, so whoever responds to our email, you know, they're going to be put on, and we're going to film a special feature with them real fast.
Right. Yeah. I think the Sinful Dwarf had a crazy extra, and it was all fake, of these people who were supposedly trying to ban it, were scarred for life from watching the movie. It was pretty clever. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know how many people actually watched that. through, but it's pretty wacky. I don't think they had anything. They're like, well, somebody did film something for this. We did extra, so they kind of made up this thing, and it was kind of entertaining.
And once again, positivity rules, and I'm just glad you're able to just kind of be a positive force.
Yeah, that's all we can all do. It's like I said, if it's not for fun and just involved with it, it's not having a good time. And like I said, when you go to these conventions and stuff, it's you really do meet the people who you got some of the people who are there for the bigger players like Robert Englund or whoever, and then you always meet a lot of fans who love the smaller stuff too, and they come and talk to you and get your autograph, or they have you sign old VHS tapes, and it's just always a blast to reminiscence about the old days and hear how somebody saw your movie at a slumber party and they became a fan, or they found it at a gas station where their parents were gassing up the car and they were like going, oh, and then I was able to convince them to rent Wicked Games. So there's all these bizarre stories of the stuff getting out there and how it got out there in the old days, and that you really love to hear. And even like Elijah Wood, who was so infatuated with Truth or Dare Critical Madness, was amazing when it came out a few years ago when I guess the Maniac remake came out, and he was like going, yeah, my favorite movie of all time is Truth or Dare Critical Madness. It's the movie that got me into into making horror movies and into loving horror movies. So for me, that makes the whole thing worth it, because I actually made a movie that influenced somebody so much that now they have a whole production company that make all these great horror movies, and very respectful of the genre, and a pretty big time dude there from the Lord of the Rings and everything, and have him be that affected by it is pretty awesome. He even went to like Cannes Film Festival, Truth or Dare Critical Madness, and did like a live commentary describing why he liked the movie and how his brother showed it to him, and it was an incredible support for the movie there.
Nice.
You don't see that a lot for small movies.
Especially.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark.
a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
Greetings, friends. My name is Dean Legero, and I'm the host of the 3324 podcast. I invite you to join me and my lifelong friend Eric Huber to come with us as we discuss the music and movies that shaped our life. Each week, we'll pick an album or film that we really connect to, and not only give you some great info and trivia, but also discuss, debate, and celebrate what it means to us and the journey it took us on. We also look forward to hearing from you and giving us some of your picks for us to check out and discuss. I think it'll be a really fun experience, so come along with us for the ride. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider and at 3324.buzzsprout.com. Thanks for your time, and welcome to the 3324 family.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-liner plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up